Hey guys, welcome back to part two. So anyway, as I was saying, it was just a start, stop, hostile environment where nothing really got done. And writing and filming that third season was hell. Editing it, that was the only fun part. Editing and putting the episodes on the air, and reading the comments on what people thought of it. That was the fun part. Writing and filming it was not. I hated that, and I'm pretty sure all the other actors agree with me on that, except Elena. Elena was barely on the set with us. But it was a pain in the ass doing all this. Now, I'm going to mention some history about this episode. So, like I was saying, I'm going off topic most of the time with this episode. So here we go, back on topic. Matt said his lines back in August, and it didn't work out, so we decided to put the Christmas Tale on hold. So, in November of 2012, we got the concert. Wait a sec. The concert was about to go on the air in a few days, and the next episode after the concert was going to be the Christmas special. Now, I wanted part 1 to air on the 14th of December and part 2 on the 21st of December. So I told the guys, I said, all right, guys, listen, here's what we're going to do. Part 1 is written, part 2 is not. So we're going to film part 1 on the day after Thanksgiving. So that way we can all get together for a few hours and film part 1 and get that done, and then we'll come over another time and get part 2 done. I know we'll get it done. I know we'll get those episodes on those days. We got part 1 done. It worked out great. We got it done as fast as possible. We worked for maybe 2.5 to 3 hours, I think it took us to get part 1 finished. And I called up Matt Hoover. He came over on the 8th. I think it was December 9th or something. I know he came over the week the part 1 aired, and his lines were ready, and they were a lot better. That he could definitely tell I was more prepared for this, and we had a better location and everything. Because when we filmed it earlier in August, we didn't have a good background. We just had some Christmas decorations. We didn't have the tree and everything, so it looked a lot better, especially to film it around Christmas time. So anyway, we put it up. I put part 1 up on the air on the 14th as scheduled. It worked out great. And part 2 did not work out so well. And this was the original idea. In part 2, we never ended up using it because I didn't think it was going to be that funny because we didn't have time to film it. But originally we were going to give Elena this plot about her being terrified of the whole 2012 apocalypse that was going to happen, and I thought, man, that's going to be great because the 21st is on a Friday. The night the show goes, the night that the show airs. Wouldn't it be great if part 2 went on the air on December 21st, the day the apocalypse is going to happen, and we're making fun of it? Oh, that's going to be great. Well, we weren't going to put that in anyway as time went on. But I wanted part 2 to go on the air on the 21st because it was the final Friday before Christmas. And I absolutely said to myself over and over again, this is not going to be another Holiday Chaos. It just can't. Because with Holiday Chaos, that whole special did not air before Christmas. And I hated it. I absolutely hate myself for not getting those episodes on the air before Christmas time. I hate putting up a Christmas episode after Christmas, because I knew that nobody would watch it. So, with Holiday Chaos, we didn't succeed with that, but with part 2, we still had a chance. We had part 1 up before Christmas time, and part 2 was going to go up on the 21st. So we decided to meet on the 17th and 18th. Dan and Julianne called me up. They told me that they couldn't be there to do it. And I said, well, I can't do it with just Mike. We can do it without Elena, because Elena's just going to be sitting on the couch, so that can be done. But I can't keep doing that editing trick where I cut back to one person and then the next person and the next person. It's going to look cluttered, and it's not going to look good, and I just don't, it's not going to work. So the 21st goes by, and we don't get it done, and Christmas goes, and we still don't have it done. So I said, okay, this is officially another holiday chaos. But the important thing is, I kept saying to myself, okay, we can't get part 2 up before Christmas, but we got to get it up before New Year's. We have to. It has to go up before the year is out. Now, the problem with that was I was going to be down the shore for New Year's. I was leaving on the 30th in the afternoon. The three of them, Dan, Mike, and Julianne, came over on the 28th. We spent 4.5 hours filming part 2, filming everything you see right here. And we filmed a couple of other scenes from other episodes from the 3rd season and some other episodes from the 4th season, too. And we got that done, and they went home, and it worked out great. The next day, I got Elena over. She did her stuff. It worked out great. I called up Matt, and he told me he was going to come over on the 30th to do his lines for part 2, because when he came over to film part 1, his lines for part 2 were not written yet. So he said, okay, I can come over on the 30th, but here's the problem. I can only come over during the day. And I said, you know what, that works out fine, because I am not going to be here on the 30th. I'm going to be down the shore for New Year's. And I'm leaving on the 30th in the afternoon, so I won't be here at nighttime at all. He said, perfect. So I had to make the living room where Matt was in part 1 look dark. I had to keep the continuity of it. So I put foil on the windows, I put towels on the windows to block out the sun, I turned all the lights on, and it looked great. I got a message from Matt 20 minutes later. He told me he couldn't come. He had to go to a party with his family members, and he told me he couldn't do it until after New Year's. Well, I got furious. I got so mad at myself, at everybody else. I had no one to blame but myself, because I kept this going for so long because I was lazy with the writing. I couldn't write it all. Like I said, we don't have a writing team. I was doing all the writing, and Dan was helping me from time to time. That was pretty much it. So what happened was I started to think about it after a while. I was pacing back and forth in my bedroom. I'm like, okay, Matt can't come over. What do we do? This has to go on the air within the next 24, 36 hours. But we can't do it without Matt, because we're breaking the fourth wall a lot, and we're going to be talking to Matt while he's rhyming. We need him in this. How do we get him in this? And it started to dawn on me that we don't need Matt. We don't need to see him, but we need his voice. And that's when it hit me. And I said to myself, and I sent him this message. I said, Matt, can you make an audio track of you saying the lines and send me the audio track over the internet? I will figure out something. I'll do something with it. We just need to hear your voice. And he said, okay. So I sent him, I typed in all of his lines, and I was also giving him direction. Like I said, I put in parentheses, put emphasis on this word, have a pause in between this sentence, say this sentence like that, and do it a couple of times. And he said, absolutely. He gives me that video later that night, and I woke up the next morning on New Year's Eve at 6 a.m., and I edited part 2 of this special like a madman. I did not leave I only left my computer to go to the bathroom. I did not watch TV. I didn't eat. I didn't do a thing. I had to get this done because I was down the shore for a reason. I had to go to my job. We were working on New Year's Eve, and I had to be there by 6 o'clock that night. So this episode had to be edited and on the air by 6 p.m. No, technically by 5:30. Technically by 5 o'clock, because I had to be at my job at 5:30. We weren't going to start till 6, so I had until 5 o'clock. I edited this thing like a madman. I finally got it together. But then I started to think, you know what? What are we going to cut back to? Because when we talk to Matt and break the fourth wall, what is the camera going to cut to? Because we can't just, he's not here. And I came up with the idea, well, you know what? Let's make pretend that after part 1, when he went outside, he had a mental breakdown, and due to rhyming repeatedly, he just lost it. He just had a breakdown. But thankfully, he knew this was going to happen, and he left a recording in case it would happen. And I said to myself, okay, that sounds kind of stupid, but it's the only thing we got. And I took out this old tape recorder that I still have, and I filmed that tape recorder for about 40 seconds early that morning, and I put that footage in with the episode that day. And as I was editing this episode, about halfway through, I was saying to myself, "Oh, this is actually funnier than I thought. This is even funnier than him being here saying the lines. Just him saying it through this little tape recorder is a million more times funny." And so we got it together, and that's what happened. So here's what happened. About 3:30 p.m. comes. I have about 2 hours left before I have to leave for work. I get the episode together. Here's another problem. The place where I was editing, we don't have internet. Now, here's the problem with heavy duty. When it comes to the editing software I have, getting a heavy duty episode on the air takes about an hour and a half. It takes about 40 minutes just to finalize the product, and then it takes about another 25 minutes to get it on YouTube. So what? Oh God, that's so funny. I'm sorry I'm talking about more about the production values than I am about the actual episode. But I love that joke right there with the sock. I think that's great. So here's what I said. Here's what I said to myself. Okay, I'll finalize the product, and as it's finalizing, I'll drive over to my uncle's house who has internet. I'll get the episode on the internet then, and then I'll get it on Facebook, I'll get it on the website, and then I'll drive back home to drop my computer off, and then I'll drive over to work. Here's what happened when I got to work. I get to work, I'm there for about 10 minutes, my boss comes out and says, "Guys, apparently too many employees showed up to work tonight. We don't need all of you." And I was one of the guys that got sent home. So I went home thinking that I raced that episode for nothing, and then I thought, you know what? The episode's on the air. I'm not working tonight. I'm going to watch The Poseidon Adventure and Happy New Year, Charlie Brown, and have myself a good New Year. And that's what I did. So it turned out to be a really good New Year, because I rushed to get this episode done before work, and it turns out I didn't have to work at all. But I think this turned out really, really well. I thought this was really, really good, especially the way Matt Hoover said these lines. It turned out really well, better than I thought. Now, originally, in the story that we had, this was where it was supposed to end. Originally, it was going to end with Matt standing up and walking out and leaving, and the camera was going to pan over to the Christmas tree, and that's where the credits were going to come up. The day before I left for the shore house, it started snowing, and that's where you see that shot of the snow coming down. And I thought, you know what, let's get some shots of me waking up on Christmas Day. Let's show some, what Christmas is all about. Let's have a little scene like that. Because originally this was going to be the final season, and we wanted this Christmas special to be really, really well. And we wanted Matt Hoover to narrate it. That was the original idea. Because for the final Christmas special, we wanted to have a narrator, and we wanted Matt Hoover. And this whole thing was shot literally the day before I left for the shore. So this was shot on the 29th, I believe. This one is really, really good. I really love the way this whole thing turned out. It turned out better than I thought it would. And part two, I think part two is actually better than part one with the Christmas Tale. Holiday Chaos got buried with this. I'm not saying Holiday Chaos is bad. I still love Holiday Chaos. But when you compare it to this one, I think this one's a lot better. And it was simpler to make because we weren't in like 4 different locations. We kept it simple. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed. Yeah, Nick McKean. I'm sorry we couldn't get Nick McKean in time, but we had to acknowledge the fact that he wasn't there. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry you couldn't find time to do the show with us. So yeah, that's the Christmas Tale. I'm glad you guys enjoyed me talking about it, and yeah, see you guys later.